Hello everyone, hope you're well. This is part 6 of our videos building the Jump Monkey game. This is getting towards the end now. This is steps 19 to 22 where we're going to write a game over message to the screen. So what we're going to use in this part of the video is that broadcast message to start this part of our code, which is quite an interesting little technique. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to paint a new sprite. That's going to be our game over message. And this is my one. You can do something slightly differently. It says, well done. You've used, and it's blank here, blank number of launches. So there's a space here. And I wonder if you can have a think why there's a space there. And if you can recall at the beginning of the videos, when we played the game, it tells you the number of launches, obviously, in this little gap. And that's actually done with a variable again. But the variable looks slightly different, and I'll show you how to change it so it's just a number dial in just a second. Right, so let's make a new sprite with the game over message. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to paint a sprite, a new one. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select an oval that's filled. I'm going to try and make it close to what was done before, with sort of a orangey, yellowy colour. Sort of beigey colour. That's fine. And that works well for me. Maybe a little bit further along might work. That's a bit nicer, a bit brighter. Okay, so I'm going to create this oval, but I'm going to make sure that the centre point of this oval is over where this little marker is, which is the centre point of my sprite. So if I click and drag from over here somewhere, I should end up with an oval that's roughly in the centre of the screen, rather roughly in the centre of this drawing area. I can drag and drop it. There we go. So we've got that oval. And now I need to add some text. I'm going to use the text tool over here. The text naturally might be quite small. So let's see what it looks like. Well, can't be seen at all because I've still got the same color as the fill. Let's put that on black. Okay. And try again. A bit too high. Exclamation mark. Now that font is a bit bland, so you can click and drag it and change the fonts to something that's a bit more appealing to you. And I think we can get the Arial buttons and stretch it to the size that we want it to be. So there we go. That looks all right. Hopefully I can move it. There we go. That looks quite nice. And if we go back to the PowerPoint, you used something launches. So we need to type again. Click where you want it to start over here. I'm going to press space a few times. Exclamation mark, that's a tiny bit small, so I'm just going to click and drag it and make it a bit bigger. Okay, now hopefully that'll be all right. Oops, a bit fiddly with a touchpad. Drag this around. Okay, I think that gap in the middle may be a bit too big, so I'm just going to adjust it down a little bit. And drag across. Super. Now I want to call this sprite game over, I think. So I'm going to type in here and type game over. Okay, let's have a look at the next stage then. So we're going to make another variable and we're going to call it launches. And that's going to record the number of launches we've made. And it says after this to right click it or claw click it if you're using a Chromebook on the variable, and we're going to change it so it has a large readout display. And I haven't done this with you before, I don't think, but it's quite a neat way of just displaying a number rather than the name and the number of a variable. So if we go over here, we need to go back to the coding blocks and go to variables down here. We're going to make a variable and we're going to call it launches. All sprites, that's fine. It appears over here. Now if we try to put it in that space, that would look a little bit ugly. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on it, or claw click if you're using a Chromebook, and we're going to go for large readout. And that means it will be that size there. Pop that in the middle. Okay. Next thing, click and drag your readout so it's in the click and drag the readout so it's in the middle of your game over message. I just did that previously. Now we've got a few code strings to add, and they appear mostly within the game over block itself, I think. And I'll just talk you through what they do. So the first one over here, green flag is clicked. We're going to set the launches to 0 because obviously we don't want any sort of remaining number of launches from a previous game. Hide the variable launches. Remember, in this sequence, this is hide the variable launches and hide again. I'm not quite sure why I've got a second hide there. Maybe you could, oh no, that's to hide the sprite entirely. So I've just figured that out myself as we're speaking. So when the green flag is clicked, set launches to 0, hide the variable launches, and then hide the sprite, game over sprite, that oval. So let's put those code blocks in. Event, when the green flag is clicked, under variables, excuse me, I'm just zooming in a little bit. Under variables, set launches to 0, hide the launches variable, so that would disappear off the screen, and then hide the actual sprite. Now, in terms of sequence, it doesn't matter which way around you're doing these things because they'll all run at exactly the same time. There's nothing to interrupt that flow of those blocks, so you can jiggle it around and it's not going to be too much of a problem. So that should hide it when I press the green flag. Perfect, it's gone, so we know that is running. Let's have a look at the next bit. This code string will only start when it receives the game over broadcast. So if you look back to step 13, I'm going to whiz through this in a second. We created a condition which was going to broadcast internally this message, game over. So if I go all the way back to step 13, let's have a look at it. We created down here this broadcast game over message when the number of bananas is equal to 0. So when we've collected the bananas, we're going to receive, or rather the computer's going to receive this broadcast message internally that says that we're approaching the game over situation and state in our game. And so we're going to have this starting condition here, this starting block. When I receive game over, that message from another string, another part of the game, the sprite is going to go to 0, 0. That's 0 in the X direction, 0 in the Y direction. So that's the center of our screen. It's going to go to the front layer, so it's going to appear above all other sprites, and then it's going to be shown. And then it's going to show also the variable. So it's almost like the opposite of this string here. This hides it and sets it to 0. This shows it and shows you how many launches you had. And at the end, importantly, it's going to stop everything, so you can no longer play your game. Stop all. So let's put that in now. Start condition. When I receive game over, so that's right towards the bottom of the events blocks, I'm going to go to 0, 0, which is the center of the screen. Go to 0. Oops. 0. I missed the first 0 there. Front layer and show. They're both under looks. Let's get show. I can see that one. Front layer down the bottom there. Order doesn't matter in terms of sequence here. And then it's going to show variable launches. Show the variable launches. So that will appear in the center of the screen. And then stop all, which is under control, I think. Stop all, but that does need to go at the bottom of that stack there. If you put that first, the rest of the sequence wouldn't run, so that does need to be there. All these other ones can be changed around and you can play with that in terms of sequence. So let's run that now. Our game is getting quite close. So if I stop and play, I do need to collect these bananas, otherwise game over broadcast won't happen. I might need to reduce the speed somewhat. There There we go. Perfect. Now that's a little bit off the center because that's where I left it last time. If I drag it and click it into there, that's where it will appear next time. So don't worry if that's happened to you. You can test it again if you're not sure. Next time that 0, that launches dial variable counter will appear in the center of the screen. Where it appears wherever you left it, where it was last dragged. Okay, then we've got this small piece of code. Doesn't matter where you put it actually. Let's put it in the game over block. It will change the launches variable by 1 every time there is a launch when the space bar is pressed. So events, when a space bar is pressed, I'm going to go to variables, change variables by 1. Change launches by 1. And that was the reason why we still had a 0 here, even though we'd used more than 0 launches. In fact, I think I used 2 on the previous game. It's just because I didn't have this last piece of code in. So this piece of code actually changes the launches variable, which is here, by 1 every time I press the spacebar. So our game is pretty much functioning now. So if I press stop and I press go again, the message will disappear. I should be able to launch normal. Well, that last banana is going to be almost impossible to collect. A tricky one. Launch speed. Taking a long time. Yay! So 5 launches. So all of those things are working. I'm just going to get rid of some of these things because I don't think we really need them anymore. I think the only thing we really need to have on the screen is probably launch speed. So I'm going to get rid of these variables. Number of bananas, full speed. Interesting to see, but it doesn't really affect our game. And gravity, which is set to 0.2. And then I can just drag this down a little bit. And our game actually looks pretty good now. It looks like it's pretty much working. We've got a few last things to do, the background and some sound effects, but I'll put those in on the next video. So thank you for joining me with this one. I'll put another video up as soon as I can. Thank you. Bye-bye.